Hey there, welcome back to Turntable Guy. Today we have a lovely dual 5052. You can also see this turntable listed as model number CS5052. I believe that stood for complete system, so if it came, I guess, with a dual amplifier or cassette deck and stuff like that, it would be modeled as a CS, but the actual model number is the 505, and it was available in several marks. I think it went from Mark 1 to Mark 4. The differences are fairly minimal between them, so the servicing of this turntable should make sense also if you're running a 1, a 3, or a 4. Okay. Other than that, this particular turntable is mine. It is due. I use this one quite a bit in my upstairs system. It's a very lovely turntable. I was fortunate enough to buy this off a little old lady for $50. And what I really like about this particular model is it has the actual veneered, looks like an oak. I doubt it is oak, but it has a lovely veneer that you can actually work on. I had sanded this all down, and I applied some wipe-on polyurethane to it, put on about 4 coats, and it turned out really nice. This is also available in a plastic plinth. Actually, it's not the plinth, it's the case, and also in a black, and I believe kind of like a, not a rosewood, but kind of around that color. And I do not believe those two finishes, I don't think that you can actually sand them. I think if you were to do that, you would destroy them. So that's what's nice about this one. There's nothing on it but a veneer. So the veneer is totally workable if you need to restore yours. All right, so this turntable, especially if you find one that's been sitting around for a while, they need a lot of initial service. And because of that, and especially, I'm going to go over the motor quite a bit on this one, I've decided to break this video down into a few parts. At this point, I don't know how many parts. I think today we'll discuss the initial teardown of it, how to get the platter off, and how to get the dual plinth out of the case, and how to we'll have a look at the general functions of the turntable, and then we'll get going on the motor. There's also some points of pain with this turntable that have to do with sticky old grease, which if you've watched some of my videos, you'll know that that's a common problem with a lot of turntables. Also, belts can become an issue, and the pitch control on this turntable has a toothed belt, and because you very rarely ever change the speed on this table, because there's no strobe light, so you actually need a strobe disc in the middle to check the speed. Once you get the set, it's basically you leave it, right? You don't want to mess around with it. And what happens is that belt, after all these years, it sits in a very elliptical shape, and it takes on that shape, and it gets hard and cracks, and then the pitch control is rendered useless. So I'll show you what I do. The belt is ridiculously expensive. I make my own belt, and just because if you do want to mess with the pitch, or if for some reason somebody touches it and it gets out of proper speed, then you can bring it back. If not, I'll show you how you set the speed on these things. It's a little bit of a process. It is a little bit more complicated, but these are a really nice turntable, really nice sounding, suspended. It's got a really lightweight arm. It's got the spring-loaded tracking force on it. This particular one has the, I have an Ortofon OM10. Oh, actually, it's a Super OM10, which is a little bit upgraded from the standard OM series. So really nice sounding. They probably came from the factory with a dual branded Ortofon OM cartridge. Some of them came with an Audio-Technica 1891. Okay, so let's start part 1, and let's get going on this. depending on your model, I've seen different types of hinges on these turntables. Mine can be removed two ways. You can actually remove the hinge right from the table, and it goes into these two slots at the back. It's excellent if you want to polish it. It sits flat. Okay. Before we actually remove the platter, when you're going to be servicing and removing the plinth from the case, there's one thing you need to do. You need to remove the cables. Just a standard, let's go with this one, standard slotted screwdriver, I believe. Am I right here? No, I lied. It's a Phillips. Okay, so there's one screw right there. You're going to want to remove that. That holds your cables, your RCA cables and your AC cables in place. That's your strain relief. I'll show you the trick how to get those cables out. So then you want to grab your cables and you just want to pull this little plate down like this. It's going to be a little tight. Okay, and then just leave it like that. Don't touch it. Because now we're going to take the plinth out. All right. Platter off. Platter mat off. Here is your dual lightweight aluminum platter. Okay, it is held in place by this clip, I guess you can call it, and how you remove this is just kind of hold your platter in place, and then with your fingers, doesn't matter which ones, you're going to want to twist this because it's a twist lock system, all right? And you'll see it turn like that, and then it'll kind of pop up, and just grab it. Okay, and now your platter will be free, so you can just grab it from either side and lift it off. And now we're presented with the sub platter. Okay, the sub platter on these is plastic. It rides in a vat of oil, so this is your main bearing here. Okay, the belt goes around this and around your motor. This is your speed changer. Okay, you can't activate your speed changer, so even by flipping the switch, it does nothing. The arm has to be in position, and it actually unlocks this switch here, and then you can change your speed. So what you want to do is take your belt off. You just pull it around the motor like that and release it. Check if it's elastic. Mine still is. Okay. If the turntable hasn't been used for a very long time and this belt was in place, what you might find is that the motor pulley here will imprint itself on the belt, and you'll actually need to replace it at that point, because there'll actually be a bump in the belt like that, and every time it goes around you're going to see your speed jump. So that's when you need to know. But as long as your belt is nice and round and free of any marks or bumps, you should be fine. Okay, so now we have everything removed. We're going to take off our head shell too. All right, if we get it off, there we go. So just spin the collar loose here and just pull that off and put it aside for safekeeping. All right, so now the arm is ready for action here. Everything is removed. We've loosened the back wiring. So now what we're going to do is there are two holders here. Okay, they're screws, and they're also for locking the platter down for transport. So you just want to loosen those until they just spin freely. Okay, you still have not unlocked it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to grab it, make sure it's loose, and you're going to want to flip it. Okay, the front one needs to flip to the back. Okay, so you want to tilt it like that, and this one on the left, you want to tilt it to the right. Okay, and what you're doing is you're releasing a lock underneath, and then grab your your plinth and pull it up. I'll show you where those lock. Okay. So now you can just kind of just gently put it there. Now you can grab your wires here and you can just tuck them inside the case. Okay, they just need to go inside like that. And now you can remove your plinth. Of course, it's always easier said than done with wiring. There's not a lot of space here. It is easier if you have the turntable tilted up a bit. That way it's not sitting on the bottom of your workbench. Okay, so there's the entire base of the turntable and the feet. And now we're left with the actual mechanism itself. Okay. One thing you might want to do is let's remove the sub platter. Let me show you. There's one retaining screw here. What you want to do is just loosen it. Don't take it out. And then this bar here, just slide it back. Okay, and that will release the sub platter. Set that aside, and that's where your oil resides there. We'll be doing the service on that. And now we're going to want to work on the motor itself. Okay, I'm not going to rest the table on the bench because I don't want the arm to sit on the table. This is your dual SM100 motor. It is not an easy motor to service. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to get out of this metal case, and we're going to be going over that. We've got a little bit of oil leakage here. It's probably from overfilling my bearing. It's probably dripping all over my workbench. Okay, so what do we do to do this? Well, what I like to do is I like to put the turntable on its side like that. And I want to make sure we can see this properly. Okay, so this is how you're going to be working on it when we release the top bolts. So if you can tilt it against something, that's great. If you want to work on it upside down, that's fine too. Just make sure you protect the tone arm. Okay. So the motor is held in place by 3 E-clips. Be very careful, they will go flinging across the room. Okay, so you got 1 E-clip, 1 washer. There's your second E-clip, second washer. And your third E-clip and third washer. Again, be very careful with those. You lose those and it's a real pain in the butt. Your motor will not be suspended properly. The motor should now drop out. Those 3 rubber grommets are the suspension for the motor. You just want to pull your motor down, okay? Now, this is your pitch belt. Now, this is my homemade pitch belt. You will probably have a toothed belt there, okay? So what you want to do is now you're going to want to turn your turntable on its side and pull your motor out, okay? You can release your belt now. And this is what I'm using for a belt. It's basically just a standard purpose like cassette belt. I put a couple of them together, or you can, if you have a long one, you can do a figure 8, and you just want it tight enough so it wraps around the pitch and around the motor pulley. Okay, that's all I use. Or if you want to spend like 50 or 60 bucks for the original, knock yourself out, you can still get them. Right, now you have 3 washers here. You're going to want to remove those. Okay. Okay, so now you've got your motor removed from the plinth. This shaft moves up and down based on where the pitch belt tells it to go. And what it does, you'll see this in a second, it actually, the main pulley for the motor is like a spline. And when you change the pitch control, the spline opens up for 45. Sorry, for faster speed. 45 is on a lower part of the spline, and then it actually closes in like this. And as the circumference becomes narrower, it slows down. So that's how pitch control is achieved on this AC motor. So what you're going to need here is, I believe, is it 6mm? Yes, it's a 6mm to remove the nut. So take your nut off. It's a, this nut has a nylon insert, which allows it for adjustment so it doesn't move around. So don't lose that nut. Okay, and next you're going to want to remove this little spring. I think I'll grab some pliers for this one. Doesn't matter which side. You know what? Let's remove it from the plastic side, because the plastic side has to be completely removed. So just take it away from the plastic side. So now this will be a little bit looser. And again, the order of how you do this is very important. You do not want to lose these parts. Okay, so you're going to grab this brown piece here and just lift it out. Okay. There are several parts on here. There's also a spring underneath. Okay. Don't lose this either. Don't lose anything. Just, if you can, just leave this alone. All right. The best thing to do is just leave it be. There is no grease on this from the factory, so there's no reason for this to be gummed up. All right. So let's just put this aside as well. All right, now we've got our motor, but we still don't have access to the good parts of the motor. Get some hair in there. Now this is the spline I was talking about here. See how it's segmented, and there is a tube that goes down the middle. So when you change the pitch control, that brown piece pushes down on the top of this tube. There's a little bearing there, okay? And it spreads those segmented sections apart. And that's how, can you see it moving there? That's how pitch is controlled on this. It is very important that this be clean. Now you can clean it out with alcohol. All right, and you can put a tiny bit of like a WD, even a WD-40 on here, because it's not something that requires a serious amount of lubricant. But there's a shaft, the main shaft of the motor rides up. There are 2 screws that hold this in place. Okay, you don't need to remove this. You need to clean this. That's important. And you need to remove this and clean the shaft and the inside of this tube. Okay, so this has to move very freely. These motors, they tend to stick because you get a bunch of gummy crap on this piece here, and then it doesn't push down, or it pushes down and it doesn't spring back, and that's when you get pitch issues. Okay, so clean this. Now what you can do is you can get the back end of a Q-tip and remove the fuzz here, the cotton, as much as you can, just like that. And then you can soak that in a little bit of alcohol. And get it inside here. And just clean inside, like that. You want it very clean. Okay, that's it, just like that. All right, and don't lose this either. Set that aside once that's clean. Okay. As far as the actual pulley, you have to be very, very, very careful here because cotton's going to want to get stuck on these little segmented pieces. Just clean up and down. Okay, like that. You want it very clean, free of belt residue. If you're going to put this inside, again, very gently, just make sure it's sparkling clean. All right. So now we need to get the motor out of this case. This is actually not the motor. This is just a case that's retaining it. You're going to need a pair of pliers. There's 2 tabs on each side. Okay. You need to bend the side that's not curved away. All right. So just bend those away a little bit. Get yourself a decent screwdriver. I'm just going to pry that like that. Do not fall. So you're just prying this out of the case like that. Keep working it. Trust me, it does not want to come out of there. Just keep working on it. There you go. There's a grommet here for the wires. Okay, you can leave that in place, or you can take it out. It's up to you. Just leave it in place. It's better. So here we go. You saw me do a large AC motor on a few turntables. This is a much smaller one. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lubricating the top and bottom bearings of this. There are 2 slotted screws, and I don't think this screwdriver is going to fit. Just barely. I have another one that's a little narrower. Yeah, get yourself a narrow screwdriver. Those nuts shouldn't move when you're unscrewing this. All you want to do is drop that bottom bearing out. All right. So see how that screw came out, and then your nut will come out this side. Okay, and we're going to do the second one now. Nut, and it's screw. There's your screw. So you should be able to remove the bottom bearing now, and there it is. Like I said, there's no real need to remove the entire rotor out of the motor here. Okay, just leave it in place. There's nothing to clean in there. What we want to do is we want to get oil into this bottom bearing. We're going to do that right now. 3-in-1 electric motor oil. Just fill it up. Just like that. You can also clean the bottom of the... What do I do with that Q-tip? I throw it away? Let's grab another one. You can clean the bottom of the motor here. Alcohol. If it's filthy, I seriously doubt it will be. One good thing about this this case is it actually keeps the motors rather clean. Okay, so there you go. Clean that bottom. And while we're at it, just pull up as much as you can. Okay. And what you want to do is get your oiler and get a couple drops at the top bearing. That is it. Okay, you lubricated the top bearing. We're going to pop in our lower bearing cap, just set it in place, just like that. Line up the screw holes. You'll feel it click into place once you got it right there. Drop your screw in. Actually, you know what? You can put your nut in on this one. It'll hold it in place, and then you can hold it with your thumb and put your screw in. That works better. So nut first. The plastic is formed for the nut, so just hold it with your finger while you drop the screw in from the top. There you go. Get your screwdriver. I think it slipped. There we go. Tighten it up. Not too crazy. Snug. Good. Don't expect this bearing or this motor to spin like crazy. Okay, it spins under its own power. But this is lubricated. It's not like other dual turntables that have this massive rotor on them. You like this, and they just spin forever. It's not going to happen with this one. Okay, so now you can put your motor back in. It only goes in one way because the wires go in this one side here. Get your rubber grommet in where it belongs, like that. You're going to want to kind of tilt it in. You are not falling on me. I just kind of, I knew that was going to happen. Like I said, it's not a fun motor to work on. It's fidgety, and I want you to see me fidgeting with it because I've done a ton of these, and I got to tell you, every time I do one, it's a new ball of fun. This one's being no different. The grommet does create a lot of headaches. But it also helps to keep the motor in place, believe it or not. Okay. Getting there. So once you got these two front ones in place, you should be able to press down and snap the back two in, like that. All right. Forgot how much I dislike doing that. Alrighty, so what we want to do first, we want to grab our pitch actuator, I guess we can call it. And just put that and drop it in. make sure that it's bouncing back, which it is. Feels a little bit sticky to me. A little smidge of oil, or WD-40 or whatever you got here, doesn't matter. Just put a drop there. Oh, that's better. Much better. Okay. So maybe just a little drop of oil on the inside of there. Not too much, because you don't want oil getting out all over the belt, right? So just a little drop. There we go. Now we got the springy action. Nice. All right, now you have to reassemble this whole piece. So if you remember, we have our spring. That goes down first. Then grab your pitch mechanism, and it's going to go over and on top. And just work its way in, okay? And then grab your speed. I call this the speed nut because that's what you adjust the speed with on this turntable. And screw it on. Get your 6mm wrench. Just make sure this is down first. And tighten it up. You don't have to go all the way. Do not tighten it all the way down, okay? You just want it kind of like, I don't know, halfway, say maybe, or just where the you just start seeing the threads on the top here. Okay, that's enough. And then grab whatever tool you have to reattach your spring onto this plastic piece. Like that. And that is the motor service on a 505 series. Now, you need to put it back in the turntable. But while we're at it, what you could do is you can get your two belts, and can you see how these belts, they never move. Like, even these are new belts, and they've already taken on this oblong shape because they sit there forever. This, I know it's hard to see because I got the turntable kind of turned here, but that's your pitch knob there. So what you can do is just grab your belt or belts or whatever you have, and you're just going to wrap them around the pitch control there, and just let them dangle like that. And you're going to put your motor back into the turntable. Just like that. And then you can grab the belt and wrap it around the pitch control knob at this point. All right. Okay, I forgot to do something here. I got oil leaking here. I forgot to put the three washers back in, so just grab those 3 washers and just put them on these part of the turntable here, or part of the motor. 1, 2, and 3, and then stick the motor up through those 3 grommets. And push up. Alright. Now you want 3 washers. 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to want to do these. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not easy. And I hope you don't lose these. I mean, you can buy replacements, but do them one at a time. Lock them in. Grab your pliers and lock it. This one's the hardest because there's a lot of crap around it. Let's do that one next. These things are so small. Oh. That's a pain in the ass. Royal. So you can see how this pitch control works that belt, right? And as it spins, this goes up and down and squeezes that that motor pulley. So what you want to do, I know it's really hard to see here, but on that motor, on that on that pitch control, there is like a pointy piece. You can just see it right there. You want to have that pointing straight at the center of this, and you want to leave it there, because that is center pitch control, right? So center right there, okay, and leave it. Don't touch it, because that's where we're going to set our speed. All right, so I think that's all we're going to do for this one. The motor was a job in itself. I think on the next video we'll do bearing lubrication, obviously, and then we will do a couple of the points of pain on this turntable, okay, which are the main actuator. Okay, as you move your arm on this dual turntable, it moves this entire assembly and turns on your motor, which is right here. This is your motor switch. As you move the arm out, switch goes on, motor turns on. Okay. What happens is, this area here, there are two plastic pieces that sit on top of each other that are in a nasty grease. Also, there's grease here and here that needs to be completely removed and cleaned. Now, I did mine a couple of years ago, so mine's okay, but I'm still going to show you the disassembly of this and some other lubrication points that you're going to want. Just anywhere where you see a little bit of, you know, any kind of lever, we're just going to give it a drop of oil. Right? You don't need any kind of crazy grease or anything, just to keep things moving. So for now, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching Turntable Guy. Stick around for part 2. Thanks.